Hello and welcome back to the Student StarCraft AI Tournament Weekly Broadcast. This is Nightcat and I'll be your host this week. Starting off, we have a recommended game here. It was recommended as being kind of older approach versus newer approaches. So we've got Corona spawning as the white Zerg over here on the right of Python. And we've got Lettabot, also known as Martin Ruijackers, spawning as the purple Terran over at the bottom left. I always love when AIs choose workers that are holding minerals or gas or something like that to do their building. Now, I am trying a little something out with the layout here. As you can see down in the bottom here, I have a little display here. This is a game that was recommended from Basil. So what you are seeing is, at least at the time of recording, the position on the Basil ladder, along with the name of the bot, the letter ranking that it has, and its ELO. Now, the one thing that Lettabot is kind of famous for is its mech army getting caught up on ramps and such, so hopefully we won't see that this game. Corona here going for a 3 hatcheries and a spawning pool here. So you're going to see a lot of Zerglings, and we've got 2 SCVs scouting the main of Corona, which is a little bit interesting to see. The first Zerglings are out though, so going to go ahead and give chase and quickly catch down the SCV. And if you'll notice this scouting path here of the SCV, it actually is not really changing based on the approach of its pursuers. It is more so just running around in a circle. And interesting enough, maybe causing some issues with these Zerglings here in the middle where they started to run back there a little bit. Good bunker placement here for early game Zergling harass, going to be able to defend this gas once it gets built, defend this upper mineral line here, and going to be able to also protect the barracks as well. Corona going to go ahead and park a lot of Zerglings here right inside the main. Not going to push the issue because it knows that that bunker is there. The SCV did get cleaned up, so now Corona going ahead and getting its lair tech. So be watching in now another hatchery, this time at the natural. So we're going ahead and expanding. Now Lettabot here is going to go ahead and try to push out the Zerglings and do so successfully in order to go ahead and establish a new bunker and go ahead and get its natural set up here. Looking at upgrades and research, we don't really have anything going on from either player, but we are getting now a spire from Corona. So we had kind of like a 3 hatchery opening in the main, going to an expansion, and now we'll be getting some mutalisks, and there's a lot of marines here. No medics yet, which I'm trying to see. I don't see an academy. With 4 barracks, you would think that there'd be some sort of medics going on, so a little bit surprised to see that, but that is a large number of Marines going to engage, potentially. Both AIs just kind of thinking about it. The armies are close together, not quite engaging though. Nice start of an arc here by Corona. And we are going to see, it looks like, no expansion either from Lettabot. So Lettabot is using a lot of its minerals, though. It's not really banking and saving up for that expansion, but it did push out to secure it when it wants to go ahead and take it. We do see now that, I thought maybe Lettabot's was going to kind of grow there, but I'm also wondering, so now the mutalisks are in production, so we did not have any yet for Corona. And now we do have medics on the field, so those are finally out now. We've got a second bunker now set up. And this almost kind of looks like it's preparing for lurkers. But instead we are seeing mutalisks here. Mutalisks going to take a couple of shots out here. If it can, going to run in, see that there's a little too much firepower there, and running all the way home, which is a little bit surprising. Could have just backed off just a little bit, and it looks like Letta was not interested in pursuing, but we go ahead and run all the way back to our natural and set up our defenses there. Meanwhile, taking this mineral only as a 4th base, actually, because the bottom right here has been populated as the 3rd base. Lettabot, meanwhile, playing nice and slow. Looks like we got marine range, and now we are getting stim. So we got range first, stim next. And both bots playing very passively here, though we do have a vulture out on the field now that's going ahead and getting some harassing. Got a shot off on the drone there, but deciding instead to deal with this army, which this is something that you will see happen with AI sometimes, is that the air army and the ground army will sort of work as one unit. And so you'll see this sort of like play where the Mutalisks could just chase down that vulture and end it without fear of being shot at, because vultures can't shoot up. But instead you kind of had that dancing there where the vulture was able to get some free shots and harassment off and picking off a few Zerglings. As the approach here happens, the army did split up a little bit there, but now getting back together, and now we have the big engagement out front. We've got the stim, the medics helping there, so yeah, not gonna be enough there. Some Marines did fall, but really just a Zerg bloodbath there. Meanwhile, behind that, the Zerg is expanding. Again, we have this bottom base here, and this now being taken. Terran finally setting up in his natural, so taking it very slow here. Populating the base now with some SCVs from the main. We have this interesting slow migration of the winterly migration of the overlords is a majestic sight to behold. Just interesting to see this. I wonder where those are going. If that was going to be some type of slow drop or something, that would be pretty crazy to see, but I don't think that's going to be the case. And now we're switching over to Hydralisks, so we can see a lot of Hydralisk production here as the army is now pushing out again to deal with Lettabot here, seeing what they can do. Being able to dive in to get these bunkers here. Got one of them burning, but not committing to breaking the bunkers there. Could have potentially broken the bunkers down at least, but backing off instead. Really, destroying the bunkers probably would not have accomplished all that much. But we are taking more of the map over, and now the overlords are migrating back up to the main base while Lettabot marches across. We have one siege tank. So Lettabot gonna really have to hope that that siege tank does not get picked off. Krona sort of falling back here. Deciding to fight at the choke here. It looked like maybe a few glaive worms had bounced to the tank, but yeah, and this is... There's no lurkers, there's no hive tech. Bioterran is just beautiful in these sorts of scenarios. So a little bit of reinforcements coming from other bases, sort of flanking these overlords, getting caught in their migration back over to the main. This natural is going to fall pretty easily here for Lettabot, but will Lettabot be able to clean up the rest of the bases? As Krona did expand a fair bit, and like I said before, sometimes Lettabot has issues with these ramps and its army, and as we can see, there's a lot of like units piling on top of each other here, entering a kind of vortex that's giving Krona a chance here. And now the hive tech is starting to come out. We do have an Ultralisk on the field, and now for the amount of units that are here, now we've got them coming up from behind. But for the amount of units that are here, they're all just kind of piling up on themselves. The Science Vessel going down after irradiating that Ultralisk, and I don't know what... There's just a tornado of limbs here. It's just... This is the Marine tornado. Oh my. It's just silly. But, the Marines now are actually able to break out of that tornado and work their way up to the main after clearing out the natural. We've got a lot of Ultralisks under construction here, or morphing. Krona's got a lot of minerals banked, but not a lot of gas, and that's typically what you will see happen as Zerg, is that a lot of the units that you want to build are very gas heavy, so you will sort of get an accumulation of minerals. A lot of stim pack usage happening here, and so now I suspect that Lettabot's going to go ahead and clean up this main. We are out of drones almost everywhere. Something I think was happening that I didn't really notice with that tornado of Marine medic there was that a lot of the drones seem to be coming into the army for Krona, which is not something that you want to do. If all of these bases were still populated, and now we have the migration of the overlords over to this base. But yeah, it could have had a lot more workers still alive and really just started to rebuild while this main was destroyed here. And up there we go. We have the army stuck on the ramp here, and up that's now maybe starting to sort of come down. But choke points can be a bit of a problem trying to work your army through it, especially if you're trying to keep your army not in a line but in a more cohesive shape for fighting. It can be tricky to balance that, because choke points are going to be where you may literally bottleneck your army if you try to, you know, have some logic to do that. And all these medics are just sitting there now blocking the path. But that's stim pack usage is going to go ahead and get them to move and sort of uncork that. But now we've got army, or the reinforcements coming in. Now the army wants to go back up the ramp. So all of this is affording Krona some time to sort of rebuild, but Krona really threw away like all of its workers, so I don't think in the end it's really going to be able to rebuild. So it does get a few Zerglings, but yeah, I don't think it's really going to be able to do much here. It does have a very nice line there though, but gonna break the line and retreat, because yeah, I'm not going to be able to really handle this level of Marines. And I'm gonna keep watching just for now, just because like I said, sometimes some really silly things can happen and AI can get hung up on something and end up losing in a surprising fashion. So just gonna see if something like that happens, because Krona does still have this base here, which is mineral only. There's still a lot of base that has not been expanded to. And it looks like, yeah, Lettabot is just throwing all of its army down here to the bottom and not coming up after this base from Krona. So will Krona be able to do a comeback here? We will see. I'm just going to leave it on the 4 times speed for right now to see what we've got here. Krona can expand again to a base with gas. Got some SCVs included in the grouping here, I think, to repair the couple of tanks that exist. But yeah, I mean, Lettabot has mined out almost every base. It still has the mineral only here, but tons of gas in reserve. Krona just getting a massive... Now Krona has the... let's slow it down for just a second here to normal speed, because we've got the Zerglings are like, well, the Marines did it, I guess we can do it too. Type of thing happening here. So I'm gonna go ahead and speed this right back up here, because we might be at a stalemate here. Sort of waiting to see. Krona is just producing Zerglings. Has a lot of supply though to work with. So the question is Krona going to actually rebuild, or are we stalemated? So we will speed this up a bit more. See what happens. Just this massive Zerglings, like. Oh, I did see a drone. Alright, so go back down to 4 speed here, because we are retaking the main, so Krona may have a chance to win this if it can avoid pulling this army out of here and clean up what Letta has left. And so now we're going ahead and we're taking the natural back, and this is one reason why in AI versus AI you don't see a lot of early good games, because things like this can happen. Clearly, if this was a human versus human game, you know, you would have been exploring the other map or the other bases, you would have found this, cleared this, that type of thing. But AIs sometimes struggle with that sort of end game cleanup here, as we can see. And so this is giving Krona the chance to come back in this and potentially get a win. It's also possible that this game could hit a timeout of some sort, as it looks like the Zerglings are now blocking this massive amount of Zerglings, which it looks to be 130 of them. Unless, yeah, that's all the Zerglings, so that's 130 Zerglings looks like, folks. These 130 Zerglings are sort of blocking the path, and now we've got a big, massive jumble happening again. Oh dear. Oh dear. I wish I could zoom in on that, because that's just a mess. But yeah, let's go ahead. We'll speed back up to 8 times until we see either maybe some more bases, or we have Mutalisks coming back up again. So it kind of looks like Krona is going back through its build. We'll probably see a transition again to Hydralisks at some point. We'll see if the... Oh, no. I thought maybe something was about to happen because they started to go down and then they stopped. So this bottom base here has been repopulated by Krona, but I think we're going to hit a no-kill timeout or something. Actually, I don't think Basil has a no-kill timeout, so... We'll see. Krona is possibly going up. We were back up to Ultralisk Tech, okay. So what is Krona kind of scared of? So we're seeing this army. So when we see this army... Krona's army is like, hey, I'm gonna come out. But then it's like, oh, drone died. Never mind. We'll just keep gathering here. So a little bit of silliness from both of these AIs. Krona, though, almost at 200 up. And now we've got the army coming out here. So we'll go back to 2 times speed. And you have the large Zerg army going to go ahead and attack Krona here. And so, yeah, Krona's probably going to be the winner here, as there's no resistance at Letta's base. Letta's army is not leaving that other main there. We do have some irradiates going down from science vessels that were not part of the attack group, but yeah, a good example of not giving up in a game, translating into a win. That's a very fun first game for this week. Let's go ahead and jump into game 2. For our second game today, we have actually my AI, Nightcat T, spawning as the purple Terran up at the top left of Andromeda, going up against Hans Bredberg, also known as the Nuke Bot, spawning as the orange Terran up at the top right. This was recommended as being a ridiculous TVT, so I'm looking forward to see what shenanigans my bot and Hans Bredberg have got up to. So, Hans Bredberg starting off getting its supply depot, and so is Nightcat T. I'm just going to call it Nightcat for now. It is labeled with a T at the end because there is a Protoss version that plays on the Basil ladder. So it's going to go ahead and scout after getting its first supply depot here. I'm going to go ahead and start barracks as well. So Hans Bredberg, as I said, is known for going for massive bio play with mass expansions and leading into ghosts and nukes and lockdown and a lot of fun things like that. Nightcat T does a mix of marine medic and tank as its army composition, so it's going to be exciting to see this matchup here. So we're getting our second barracks, our second supply depot here. Hans Bredberg going ahead and already getting an expansion at its mineral only with the build that it plans on doing, the mineral only should be a fine first expansion for it. Right, so now Hans Bredberg's also getting its gas, which Nightcat already has here. And Nightcat has gone ahead and found Hans Bredberg here. And just going to go ahead and scout around the edge of the base here a little bit and get caught by them. Get stuck by running into the Marines there and get taken out. An interesting little arc here forming for Nightcat. Now Hans Bredberg is going out. I think Hans might know where Nightcat is. And so we've got the Marines, yeah, they're marching right in there. See the army and go ahead and back out, and now just sort of do the dance. We have medics out now for Nightcat. I don't think Hans has got his academy just yet. Factory is started for Nightcat. Gonna have a long path there for the factory units. Going ahead and getting the machine shop. On Bredberg, meanwhile, only has the one expansion so far, which I'm a little bit surprised by. It is getting its academy now. I guess it might depend on its opponent, on if it does, because I've seen it get tons of expansions really quick right off the bat. So maybe it does have a bit of a variance, but here it is now taking its third. You know, Nightcat is still just on one base, and really with the passive play, it allows Hans to take that base without really any punishment happening for it. Just checking here the research, so the tank gonna go ahead up. Okay, we do have siege mode, and we have stim for Nightcat. No, both sides do have marine range though, so now Nightcat kind of moving out of it here. It looks like we've got a SCV coming out as well, again carrying that mineral chunk. So where is this army? Is it why are you doing this, AI? Why? It's trying to expand all the way across the map instead of expanding to its natural for some reason. That's pretty interesting to see. Having a little bit of a struggle here to get the command center down, and then it does. And now the army gonna go ahead and run across the middle again, it looks like, but it's gonna run into Hans Bredberg's army and sort of just give up a lot of free kills here, just trying to retreat. So very much caught out of position there due to the across the map expansion, leaving this tank exposed here. I really don't have a clue as to why it did not choose to expand at its natural, but emergent behavior here, trying to take the cross map base. But there's still plenty of tanks up here using the high ground to sort of defend this here. But now, oh no, we've got a transfer of SCVs that are going to just run right into the Marines there and just really plummet that worker count. Now 15 workers for Nightcat. Going to have to repopulate that. Hans Bredberg is looking pretty strong here, even though it can't break this. It does have now 4 bases, it looks like. And it's got 70 workers, so it has the economy. Looks like Nightcat is making a move somewhere. Not quite sure where. Really not sure what this army is doing. But it's doing something. Looks like maybe something. Oh, maybe it was a scan and it drew those units over there. Large number of tanks though for Nightcat. This bio not going to be enough to do it. Now the tank's unsieged, so again more army just getting caught, wanting to run through the enemy units. No real threat awareness in terms of the fact that they should not move there. Oh, it looks like, okay, so we've got some fighting here in the middle now. Nightcat looks like he's going to try and clear out this middle. You know, Hans Bredberg is mass expanding at this point to most corners of the map. Hans Bredberg, the ghosts are out though, so we could be seeing, we do have a nuke silo under construction, so we may have nukes pretty soon here. Looks like Nightcat, aware of the expansions, is going to go ahead and do an attack here, but really open wide for the counterattack here. Counterattack's going to just march right up into the main here. Nightcat is bouncing between bases, it looks like, with its army. I'm trying to... looks like it might be approaching towards the... toward the main of Hans. Going to go ahead and force that army to pull itself back, it looks like. Looks like it's kind of going to where Nightcat's army was, but going to miss it. But now coming back to the main here, we do have Cloak in play and Lockdown from the Ghosts. So just able to repel that while pushing into the main, but it looks like the tanks got cleaned up here. So we just have a group of Marines and medics here trying to clear out the natural of Hans, but Hans gonna go ahead, pull back its army, be able to clear this out. But here are the tanks for Nightcat. They went ahead over to the base on the far left here. And now we do have nukes under construction, so those may come into play here pretty soon. We have more reinforcements coming out of the main of Nightcat here, going to run into Hans's army again, which is kind of going to stutter step in. We do have some cloaked ghosts here trying to do what they can, but not quite able to do it. We do have a very large tank count here. 14 tanks out on the field for Nightcat. But Nightcat, there may have been, was there a nuke? Thought I might have heard a nuke, but it doesn't look like there was. So one of Nightcat's problems is with all of these ghosts, though, we're spending a lot of our energy on scans, and we only have the two, or actually, okay, no, we did take the mineral only, so we do have 3 command centers here. Oh, we might have, oh, and the ghost gets taken out, I think, before a nuke falls on the tanks. So very unfortunate for Hans there. That would have been a huge blow to Nightcat here to lose those tanks, but really the tanks just putting in a lot of work, firing uphill. The Marines that are trying to work their way up the ramp here, giving vision to the tanks on that high ground. Just the army continuing to just flow out here for Nightcat. It's more tanks, Marines. Now Nightcat is finally taking its natural. So in a way, actually, this expansion over here may have worked out, because when Hans's army was approaching and marching into the main area here, there was not a natural to take out. And had the natural been there, Nightcat might have lost its second base there. So now we do have the tanks in the natural of Hans. There are more nukes under construction, so we could still see a clutch nuke get pulled off here. One nuke is done, and now the second one is going to finish here, so there is still a chance if Hans can nuke this army. We do have the nuke being called down, but it looks like the army is pretty much moving away from there. And yeah, only going to get a few Marines and medics with it, unfortunately for Hans. Looks like instead of cleaning out the main, we're going ahead and... Oh, I just heard another nuke. But I think the ghost got taken out before, or pretty quickly there, unfortunately. And now SCV train into the enemy units here. We got another nuke under construction, so there will be perhaps another chance. A large tank force here for Nightcat, trying to work its way up. I think we just heard the nuke sound, but then the ghost very quickly being eliminated by the tanks. The army, it looks like it... Oh, there was a nuke that landed, though, but I don't know if it'll be too little too late. It did get a sizable amount of tanks, though. But there's still a pretty large tank force here. It looks like we're coming back into the main for the main here. And we're still getting some ghosts, though. There could still be a nuke or two somewhere, but... I mean, Hans still has a good number of bases that have not been touched yet. Just heard a lockdown go off. So yeah, we'll see here if... So now with the main cleaned up, we're going to see which way. It looks like Nightcat's going to come down here to clean this up. Hans is attempting to rebuild. The tank army moving slowly here as it... And actually, one thing I want to mention here, I'm going to hide this overlay really quick. It's interesting to see, because oftentimes we see AIs with huge amounts of APM, and these AIs are jumping up pretty large. But you can see here they're at like 2,000, some instead of like 60,000 or 50,000 that we see some other AI. So it's just interesting to see what you can do with lower amounts of APMs within a bot. Bring that overlay back up here. So yeah, I think this is pretty much just in cleanup mode, so we'll go ahead up to 4 times speed here. Yeah, so we did get one nuke off, but it didn't quite catch enough of the army to really slow down the assault here from Nightcat, who was at one point down to 15 workers, so that was pretty sketchy moment there, but able to recover and come back. And go ahead and take the win. But I have definitely seen games between these two AIs where Hans will get a good nuke off that takes out, like, say, you know, almost all of the tanks, if not all of them, and then just Nightcat can't surmount the challenge that is then laid out in front of it. So GG, very entertaining game. Very questionable choice to expand all the way across the map here like that, but in the end worked out, and then did go ahead and try to take a few additional expansions. So very entertaining game. Let's go ahead and get into our third one. For our third game today, we have Willy T spawning as the Red Terran up at the top right of Jade. And we've got Crazy OP spawning as the Brown Protoss down at the bottom left. Crazy OT usually having a very fun build. Where it goes for some type of cannon contain into Dark Templar into carriers. So we'll see how Willy T handles that. And actually, there's been some discussion on the SSCAIT Discord, which is linked down in the description below, about carriers and some interesting new micro that was found somewhat recently with carriers, and how AI may not actually be able to do that micro. And it might be like the first real limitation that we've found, because while AI are able to stack mutalisks, for example, by just issuing the order for the same thing on the same position for every mutalisk, this kind of requires carriers to actually just do a stop instead of a carrier stop, and that's something that AIs can't really induce, and it's done because of the UI that humans have. Now we do see the cannon contain starting up. This is not a very wide space, so going to be able to fit, though, a fair amount of cannons. Willy T's going to come up and see this and fire on at least one of them. Able to cancel that one cannon, but that one was able to get a shot off. Now, Willy T's going to be at a disadvantage here because it is going to have to fire uphill or work its way uphill here. So going to be a bit of a challenge there. But we are getting our factory, so we'll see. If it goes ahead for tanks right away off of this, or if we're going to go for vultures, which really won't be able to do anything against this contain. So now we have Crazy OP here teching up. We're getting our cybernetics core. Factory finishes, and we go straight into the machine shop, so that is great to see for Willy T. Now we'll just have to see if that machine shop goes ahead and gets siege mode, but even with siege mode, interesting little graph there. Okay, we are getting siege mode, but even with siege mode, this is going to be tricky because you're going to have to fight uphill. There's really no good way to get vision of these cannons without being fired upon unless you lift a building and use that to gain your vision. So we'll see if Willy T is able to do that or not. The SCV trying to expand there, getting caught. Willy T having a lot of minerals right now floating. We do have the first tank out. Going to siege where it can see the cannon, but it's in range, so it's going to go ahead and get shot down. But we are producing our second one, but that always is a huge loss to lose your early game tanks against Protoss. It looks like the Templar Archives is about to be done. Their academy is close to finishing though too, so we may see a Comsat station. The Dark Templar are now constructing warping in while the Comsat station is also being added on here. So going to be able to detect those Dark Templar. They may not get the win that Crazy OP would like to get from them, but and Oh, we might be able to break this out a little bit here now with the 3 tanks able to take on cannons here, sacrificing the other units for that vision. Now has cleared off enough to be able to kind of march up there and clean this out. So able to break out of the contain for now. The Dark Templar for Crazio here finally coming out and coming across the map, but really there is the comsat, so going to be able to scan if we need to. Mines also being laid down. Mines will react to Dark Templar, even if they are not detected. It looks like we are double expanding with the massive amount of minerals that we have. Trapping a few vultures with the Dark Templar, which is pretty interesting to see. No scans going off yet. And okay, now we do have the scan, and the that SCV body blocked. Got those Dark Templar to target it. And with that body block, the tanks had enough time to siege and take both of them out in one volley. Mine cleaning up that Dragoon there. The Dark Templar trying to deny this base here. Scan going off. Going to be able to get this to establish. Don't know if that was a cancel or an actual kill there by the Dark Templar. This is also forcing quite a few scan usages though. And with 2 comsat stations, the scans are pretty tight. You do have a Yep, that Dark Templar able to get out of range in time, so causing some trouble there for Willy T, but we do have an expansion going down here that Willy T is aware of, and we have the carriers starting to come out. So I like the spread mine placement here. Good scouting information can be gained from those. You can tell when your opponent is taking bases. You can tell when they are moving around the map. So very nice to see that. Interesting that all these tanks are still on the low ground because they're going to have a chance to miss with the main shot, although the splash damage, I believe, will still hurt. So would like to see these tanks kind of moved over onto the high ground here, but right now Crazio not really having a big army here. Going to be able to be cleaned up here by the Terran player. Now we do have a nice number of bases here, and the first carrier is on its way over. Seems to be coming over alone. We have 4 carriers, but there's only the one here. And it is now seen by Willy T, if he had not seen it before, so gonna go ahead and try to do some damage here. The Goliath's going after the interceptors, not targeting the carrier itself at the moment. Carrier just kind of observing things for now. Yep. Goliath's getting a little too close for that carrier's comfort, but a nice long production queue here for Crazio. More carriers now coming into this natural to cause some havoc. There's a good amount of Goliaths here. Dropship now out for Willy T. Looks like it's trying to pick up some Goliaths here. So we want to keep an eye on that dropship there to see where it's going to go. Meanwhile, Crazio coming back up to this third here now. Sort of avoiding the large Goliath numbers, but the Goliath's getting a bit spread out there. I just got to be careful to not expose these tanks to the carriers. It looks like the drop was over here on this base, and we're going ahead and now marching down to it. So going to take that out, but I'm feeling like Crazio is still going to be okay with that out. Now, that army on the march, it's leaving Willy T just open to this counterattack that's happening here. There's not enough to stop this. That army is going to need to pull back, but instead we're just marching ahead. Looks like we're almost entering like a base race of sorts here that I think is not going to go in Willy T's favor. Some of the Goliaths are trying to come back here now. Getting those carriers to sort of scatter a bit. And it looks like now the Goliath numbers may be enough here to hold this back. Meanwhile, this base here has fallen. I'm not exactly sure where the tanks for Willy T are. There's only one tank left. So at this point, we're just producing Goliaths. Deal with these carriers, and it looks like Willy T is able to push this back off of... We've got 6 factories here. So we're able to do some pretty good Goliath production. What are our upgrades looking like here? We do have 1-1. 2 attack is on the way. But the number of carriers here is really large, so... It's entirely possible for the Protoss to hit like a critical mass, but we do have a large batch of Goliaths here. They did just pick off a carrier, and another carrier falls as well. But the Goliath numbers are thinning out. It looks like they're going ahead and retreating back into the main here. Crazio is pushing those Goliaths hard here, and I just don't think there's enough to deal with these carriers. And with that, it looks like Crazio is going to take the win. As I don't think, there's any army. There's just 6 spider mines out for Willy T. So really fun game to see here. We did get a little bit of a push from Willy T, but unfortunately it kind of petered out, and the carrier numbers just grew too quickly for Crazio out on the front. The Goliath's not able to surmount the number of carriers, and also the upgrades too. Let's talk about that real quick. We're at getting level 3 air attack. So nicely upgraded carriers. Well played by Crazio. As the final buildings fall, it will be GG. For our final game today here, we have another recommended one with Hans Bredberg involved, spawning as the Red Terran over at about the 2:30, 3 o'clock position here of Medusa, going up against Madmix Z, spawning as the Orange Zerg down about the 7 o'clock-ish position here of Medusa. So we've again got the potential for nukes involved, this time up against the Zerg race here. So looks like Madmix Z going for an Overlord first, so we're going to see a couple more drones. So it looking like a 12 hatchery here. And with the mineral carrying drone, going to go ahead and expand to the mineral only, which is interesting because that's going to hamper gas collection unless we expand again. But now we're getting our spawning pool. So we're going for the mineral only back here, which might make taking the natural a little bit harder if Hans Bredberg is putting some pressure on, but we'll see how it plays out. Hans going ahead getting its first marine here. It looks like it is doing a mass expand here, so we're seeing an expansion, I think, sooner than we did in the first game involving Hans. We do have some scouting going on here with the Overlords. Looks like we are getting ready to take our natural now. So, yep, we are taking that still pretty quickly. The sunken, though, a bit questionable for the investment of the drone and the resources to build it. But now Hans is going to go ahead and go out with the Marines, try to find this first set of Marines here, and it looks like maybe an SCV scout, or that could be... Nope, okay, that's just going down to the base that it got here. Interesting, too, that Hans did not choose to take its natural. And then targeting down the Overlord here that was just found out in the wild. Mad Mixie perhaps having a little bit of trouble understanding that this is blocked off here by neutral buildings and minerals, so perhaps a bit of a pathing issue working against it there. But it is now targeting the buildings there, but that will take quite some time to break down. And while it's doing that, Hans Bredberg is searching the map, going to the wrong main here. Going to find that main empty, and then realizes it and goes ahead and turns the units around. Maddox Z thinking it's blocked in by these neutrals, but it is getting a Hydralisk out, so it can see the right way to go. But now, oh no, the Marines are coming in here. Into the natural. I'm gonna go ahead and run the drones out, but we had another drone running in, so there was some awareness to abandon the base with the drones, but with the Zerg army kind of confused up here on the high ground, the natural is open for Hans to take out, but is falling back for some reason. Could have finished cleaning this up. Gonna go ahead and retreat here to the rest of the army. Looks like he's gonna try and take out that Overlord there. I don't know if perhaps Hans is... I don't think either AI recognizes the neutral buildings here in the resource, which it's going to be a bit of a problematic wandering into range of a sunken colony there. So yeah, kind of silly behavior here from both of them. Hans just building not construction, but macro buildings in its natural, so not going to take that base, it looks like. As a base to build on. Oh my, we just get this very fun game here for our last one tonight, as eventually the Zerg's gonna break this down. Maybe. I mean, some Zerg units are getting out, but I think those are the ones that are like coming from the natural. And they're just happening to get out that way. So Madmix, and maybe even coming from this third here, or fourth rather. Madmix Z is taking that fourth, but Hans is also taking a couple more bases. It is shorting itself a base here with these structures here. There's a lot of space in the main where it could have built instead, but... A drone in the mix now. Not sure exactly what it was trying to do with that drone, but... Marines trying to fire uphill. Now we've perhaps going to get some Zerglings glitching out here. This is looking like prime nuke material, if you ask me. Yeah, a couple of Zerglings glitching out here to the lower ground, but then very quickly being picked off by the large amount of Marines that are down here. Ghosts and a nuke silo are now underway. We do have Ghosts out on the field. Gonna be watching for that nuclear missile to start to be constructed here. You have another command center coming down in the other main here for Hans. So the Overlord's getting cleared out there. And now we do have our nukes underway, and it looks like Mad Mixie's army finally recognizing it can't really go through that way, or just backing off because of the large presence of Hans's army here. Hans's army is still being tripped up by this neutral, though. It would be interesting to see if it clears it with a nuke, or two. It might take two, actually, to clear that. Yeah, both. Well, Hans is almost maxed out here. Just 8 supply open. And that last 8 supply being used for yet another nuke. You have a nuke coming in here, so gonna have to slow that down. And all of the Zerg, along with some of the Terran army, just wiped out. That army count dropping drastically for Zerg, but really, Hans's army is still stuck here, so... It'll be interesting to see if Hans's army can figure out where it needs to go. Looks like it is going to find these other bases, so maybe that will lead Hans the way his army needs to move. But it's still just kind of dancing in the middle here. Meanwhile, Madmix Z... What are we producing here? We're getting some more hatcheries. We're getting some more units. We're also getting lurkers now. Which, depending on the movement of this bio army, lurkers can chew through it rather quickly. But we are back up to 200, so we still have nukes as an option on the table. Mad McZ's, it looks like most of his army here. Up, and we're... Looks like we dropped 3 of our nukes right away. Oh, now we've got a couple of lurkers here that are eating through the supply, but Hans, a lot of production to very quickly replace those units. And McZ having a bit of an army in the middle here finally. This is kind of looking like a campaign base for the enemy Zerg in a way here, with those colony placements here. But now Mad McZ coming into the nuke base is going to do some damage here if Hans doesn't pull back. Hans' army still getting tripped up over here, though. Looks like a lurker is having a bit of a field day up, and Burr is within range, but it... And we're nuking... Oh, this could be interesting. I know there's some action going on at these bases here, but I want to see this nuke. Going to clear the neutral buildings out. So now the army can actually come through. It opened up the floodgates, and now it's falling back to try and deal with this Mad McZ army that's out there. With the floodgates open, will that work for or hurt Hans? Now that it lost those bases, it seems to be abandoning that position there. We've got a ghost here that is dropping a nuke. It looks like that nuke is not going to do... got a Zergling at least, so... That is a thing that it did for it, but now this Terran army could march up this ramp. Still not quite doing it. There is a large Mad Mix Zerg army here, though. We also have Ultralisks out in play now. Looks like we're dropping another nuke right here. We'll see if it is able to catch any of the Zerg. The Zerg army is dancing around there. Oh, nice one. That's a large amount of Zerglings. They're able to get caught up in that nuke. The Terran army is working its way up the ramp, and now it has to work through, I'll say, look like a campaign-like base where it's got this, like, upper ground that just has these sunken colonies and such. And we've got quite the massacre of Zerg units going on here by the Marines. Marines just so effective with their damage and can be so cost-effective with medic backup, too. And the Terran army slowly working its way in here. Some of the back of the army getting picked off, but really working its way down to the hive here. That hive being exposed, it looks like it is going to... I think I heard a nuke down here. The army did back off a bit. But some of the army just marching ahead into the nuke, hurting himself there with that particular nuke. But now back up, running, oh no, through the lurkers. Cleaned up 2 of them, but lost a lot of units there to that. Right now, almost no production from Mad McZ. I'm not sure if we're just on like a... that's a very unfortunate last game to end on there. It looks like this actually did desync. So I don't know who would have won this and who would have not won this, so... That is too bad. When did this desync happen, though? I'm going to go ahead and... So there's, like, the first unit that's not... And there's a medic over here, too. But dang. That's such a shame to see that happen. This game desync like that, because... This is a very exciting game, and I really don't know who was going to win this here. A large amount of SCVs here. Stuck, so yeah, very, very unfortunate for that to happen, but... Yeah, and there's a ghost just standing here. It looks like he was maybe supposed to drop a nuke. And just didn't. Yeah. But... Well, this is, let's just see. I think it's always going to desync. Just kind of waiting for desync to happen again. Yep, and there's the Marines just standing at the barracks again. So, very fun games. It's a shame that this new game got desynced here. We'll just go ahead and zoom it ahead to the very end, just to see what the game state, the desynced game state looks like. The desynced game state looks like probably Hans won, but again, it's really hard to say because the game did desync. There's a lot of units not doing anything. You stop because Zerg production relies on larvae, and because new units stop doing things, the new larvae aren't going to morph, and so yeah, it's kind of the state of desync. So fun games this week. Sorry it had to end on a note like that. This got the ghost here striking a post, but I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Next week, your host should be Chobo Swaggins, and we hope to see you then. Until then, take care, everyone.